All right, will she or won't she take the stand? That's what everyone watching the Casey Anthony trial is wondering. Let's bring in our legal guys, Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor in Cleveland, and Richard Herman, a New York criminal defense attorney and law professor, joining us from Vegas. Good to see you guys. I missed you.
Hey, Fred, we missed you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Our queen is back, yeah.
You're so kind.
Yes.
Okay, to my kings now. So, Richard, you first, if she does take the stand, now, of course, there are other things that we can talk about in terms of who the defense has called and the prosecution resting its case, but let's talk about whether Casey Anthony would take the stand, or how can she avoid it at this point?
Well, she cannot take the stand. And I can't say that any louder. She cannot, she must not take the stand in this case, Fred.
Why not?
If she does, she will be convicted and sentenced to death. She is a serial compulsive liar. She has no credibility. There is no upside for the defense to put her on the stand. Their jury will not believe anything she says.
Not to explain the demeanor from the photographs that have been submitted by the prosecution, showing her partying, showing her, looking rather cavalier when her child is missing. Not to explain that?
That's right.
She can't explain that, Fred. She's got to forget about that, forget about the claims of incest. It doesn't matter now. The forensics are the key to this case, and they're the key to at least a hung jury to prevent the death of this woman. She's not believable.
Yeah. So, Avery, how can the defense present this case and say that she is a victim of incest? She apparently made these allegations about both her father and her brother, and there are pictures. How can the defense not want to defend those allegations from the prosecution?
Well, that's exactly right. If she doesn't take the stand, the promise that Jose Baez made to this jury goes up in smoke, and that's credibility. The other thing, Frederica, is this jury has been watching this woman for 21 days, and we've heard gruesome, dramatic testimony, and with very, very few examples, she is absolutely unemotional. The fact is that she needs to take the stand to make sure the jury understands why she is, and it's going to go to issue of intent, of mental capacity. I don't think she has a choice. I think we're going to see her on.
And we're showing live pictures right now, court in session, pictures of her head down. You haven't seen a whole lot of emotion out of her, Richard, except for the day that there were some photographs showed of the decomposing body of Kaylee, and she had to take a break. She said she felt sick to her stomach. Did that in any way, whether it was theater or whether it was genuine, appeal to the jurors?
It may appeal to one or two. Listen, Fred, 3/4 of this jury has already made their mind up. So get beyond that. Imagine the cross-examination if she takes the stand, Fred. They're going to ask her 500 lies that she said, and they're going to get her to acknowledge those were all lies. Then they go to summation and say, you can't believe she's lying to you now. There's no plus of putting her on the stand. Forget about the incest. That's not a pass to be a pathological liar because you had incest as a kid. That's not going to fly. He's got to abandon that, concentrate on the forensics, where they're making a great day today. Dr. Spitz was phenomenal today. And in speaking of which, the pictures that we're seeing of Casey Anthony, she's got her head turned away because apparently they are showing some of that forensic evidence. They are showing more photographs, and so she is appearing to be a little unsettled by that. So Werner Spitzer, this pathologist, has already said that he describes this autopsy as shoddy. He says, in fact, he testified just moments ago that the duct tape was placed on that skull during decomposition. Avery, does that sound like a legitimate call, or will that be challenged in any way? Is he credible?
Yeah, after decomposition, and you know what? Let me tell you something, Frederica. They got nobody better. Werner Spitz is world class. He goes back to the Kennedy assassination. Mary Jo Kopechne. I mean, he is superb. This is the first quality witness we have seen supporting the defense in this, challenging the forensics, the science here. I think this is the only thing that we've seen coming out of the defense team, and it is important. Reasonable doubt, we will have to wait and see. The prosecution has not completed its cross-examination.
All right, this is all so fascinating indeed. All right, let's move on to another case that also is fascinating. Maybe not equally, but it is fascinating. This out of Tennessee. We're talking about a new law which is making it a crime. In fact, promising some jail time for transmitting images which could cause emotional distress. What kind of images are we talking about here, Richard? And how legitimate is this law? How stable is this new law?
The images are Any images that are intended to upset someone or cause some sort of humiliation or damage to someone. The law, I'm sure, I know Avery, my friend's going to agree with me. This is absolutely unconstitutional, Fred. You've got to tailor these laws clear, concise. There's just too much ground for subjective interpretation here. It's never going to upheld itself.
Well,
and
yeah.
Look,
I think a lot of people think, well, this just came about because of Anthony Weiner. Interestingly enough, the legislature in Nashville passed this law in the middle of May. It's not the Weiner law, but it is unconstitutional because you can't simply say an image that annoys or bothers. I mean, without
because that's
that,
arbitrary
the First Amendment
too?
means nothing.
And
exactly,
that's
absolutely
the definition
arbitrary.
is very loose? Yeah. Huh.
Very loose, unconstitutional.
So then what will happen to it?
Temporary restraining order.
So what will happen?
It's going to be held unconstitutional. Federal judge is going to shut it down. Plus, there's a federal law, obviously, that deals with computers that will preempt it anyhow. That law is history. It's gone.
Oh, okay. All right, gentlemen, we're not done with you. Don't go anywhere. We're going to see you again later on this hour. We always like to have our part deux.
Part deux.
All right, part deux.
We're going to be talking.
I missed you all
not the
too.
same without you.
Aw.
Not the same
Well, I
without
missed you all
for sure.
too.
That's exactly right.
Glad we're back together. Where's that Peaches and Herb? We are going to, in a couple of minutes, talk about another case involving a 5-year-old who was permanently expelled because someone said this child touched the teacher inappropriately. We're going to talk about zero tolerance after this.